You're listening to Bigger Than Belief, real stories about real faith with real people whose belief is unbelievable. I'm your host, Adam Duxter. Thanks for tuning in to Bigger Than Belief. Today is Thursday, May 7th, and this week we're diving into the world of business and generosity. And the timing is interesting because most people would say those two things are pairing together less and less as time goes on. And you really see it everywhere you look in the news. Businesses are cutting staff, pinching pennies, asking employees to do more with less resources. To think that you'd find generosity in a business space, well, if you're cynical enough, you might ask, okay, there's got to be something in it for them if they're going to be generous. This next guest, though, she says you're not only wrong to think that businesses don't have generosity left, but big wrong, because for the better part of the last year, she has seen business leaders across Minnesota come together to be generous with her very own eyes. Andrea McMaster is president of Amplify Mission Network, an organization that every month brings hundreds of business leaders together for the sole mission of supporting nonprofits. They listen to the problems these nonprofit groups are facing and then try to figure out how they can use their skills, resources, and collective minds to find a solution. Buildings have been given away, hours of work have been donated, lives have been changed all through this work, and the one common bond through it all is faith. These Christian business leaders are supporting causes they're passionate about, but as you'll find in this interview, have benefited countless lives here in the Twin Cities and beyond. Before we dive into today's episode, if this is your first time listening to Bigger Than Belief, or if you're a weekly listener, please take a second to rate us 5 stars right in the app where you're listening. Simply put, if you enjoy this content, that 2-second press of a button is the best way you can help support us. Also, if you like today or have enjoyed any of our episodes, please consider reviewing us in your app. Again, a 5-star rating and a positive review is the best way to help support this type of content. But now we want to get to our interview with Andrea McMaster of Amplify Mission Network. We now welcome on a very special guest. She is the president of the Amplify Mission Network. It is Andrea McMaster. We've been talking to her for a couple of weeks now to make this conversation a reality. So thank you first and foremost for joining us. I do want to start there, though, with your title and what you do. Amplify was something that was totally new to me when we first started chatting. But for people who have never heard of Amplify, and we'll dive more into it, but for people who have never heard of Amplify, how do you explain what you do or what this work is?
Yeah, well, thank you, Adam, for having me. It's a joy to be able to be here and share about Amplify. So Amplify really is about connecting business leaders with nonprofit change makers to amplify work that's happening in our community here in Minnesota and around the world. So it's working with faith-based nonprofits that are here based in Minnesota, but they could be doing work and helping meet critical needs in Minnesota or around the world. I like to say, for people to explain it, is it's when business leaders and nonprofit change makers, they come together, they stop working alone, and they build together. And we do that through the power of collaboration and connection and helping solve critical needs that are need to be met within our community.
It's a relatively new role for you. How long have you been in your role?
Yes. So it's been about 1.5 years. It's been a joy. It's a place where I come to work every day and I say, I can't believe I get to do this.
One thing I love about your story and your background is that we come from very similar career trajectories. There was a point in time where you were also working in TV news. How do you go from doing that to doing this?
Yeah. Well, I've shared that with multiple people who have asked, what's the thread or what is the alignment between all of this? And I think since I was a little girl, I loved telling people stories. I mean, I used to make my neighbors perform in plays that I wrote. And so storytelling or writing or making, entertaining people was something that I loved as a little kid. And that led me into journalism, of telling stories that I knew needed to be told. I mean, I wanted to go into journalism because I wanted to help tell the good stories that are happening within our communities that people don't get to hear about. And so then after being in broadcast journalism, a TV news anchor, I was in Omaha, not in the Minneapolis area, led me to working in public relations and helping my clients tell their message through storytelling as well, through news interviews or in social media. And then really today, that's the exact same thing that I'm doing. Not only am I helping tell the story of Amplify and the work that we do in our community, but I work with nonprofits every day that need to tell their message and the impact that they're making in our community and make sure that people understand that well. And you can be a nonprofit leader and not know how to tell your story well. You can be doing the work day to day and not know how to tell your story well. So I find it extremely fulfilling working with volunteers and my staff when we come along, nonprofit leaders who say, I've never known how to tell people what I do and the impact I make. Thank you for helping me unlock that. And so that's been the thread throughout all of these careers. And now, yes, I get to take the seat of an executive director of a nonprofit, which has been a learning curve, but I'm really, really grateful for the mentors that have come alongside me and supported me in this role.
I mean, when you were in your career in journalism, and if I were to tell you, hey, this is what you'll be doing someday, would you have ever thought that would be the case?
No, never, never in a heartbeat. But I think throughout my whole life, even when I was in broadcast journalism, I was like, Lord, how do you want to use me in this specific role? And working in public relations, most recently, I really was feeling like the nudge that I was supposed to do something different. It's not that I wasn't being successful or thriving and loving what I was doing, but I was just feeling this nudge and kind of unsettled that I was supposed to do something different. And that happened a couple of years ago. And so I just really started asking the Lord, what do you want me to do and what do you want me to know? Really having no idea what was out there. That led me to going to a business community here in the Twin Cities where we wrote our purpose statement. And my purpose statement was to really help people unlock their gifts to make positive impact. So I've always been a connector of people and a connector of ideas. And then I find out from a couple of people who said to me that this role was available at Amplify, that Amplify was around in the Twin Cities and doing great work. And their mission statement is so similar to my purpose statement, to connect business leaders with Christian faith-based nonprofits to amplify their impact. And it's through those powers of connecting that we can see more impact made in our communities. And so I was just seeing how God's worked in my own life and guiding me to this role that I didn't even know existed a couple of years ago. It's been a joy to be able to be a part of it.
Had you crossed paths at all prior to that with Amplify? Did you know what it was? I mean, was this brand new when you kind of heard?
It was brand new, but I had a client who was a big volunteer at Amplify, and I had a former coworker who was a big volunteer at Amplify, and both of them told me about the role and said I could see this being someplace where you would truly thrive.
You talked a little bit at the very beginning about Amplify and what it does, kind of the elevator pitch, but you were kind of explaining to me just the nitty gritty of like what you all do, the meat and potatoes. And it's through these monthly sessions. How would you explain to someone just kind of what happens and just the significance of the work that you all are doing?
Well, one of the best ways to experience Amplify is to come to one of our AMP sessions. And what an AMP session is we invite the business community, and typically there are about 200 to 250 business leaders who attend these AMP sessions. And at the AMP sessions, we have two nonprofits that present a 15-minute presentation. And then they end each presentation with a strategic ask. So basically saying, I have this obstacle, I have this challenge I'm facing. If I could move through this challenge, I could be propelled forward to serve more people or to do greater good in our community. But I need to get past this challenge. So if you, as the business community, were in my shoes as the executive director, what would you do? How would you solve this issue? And so what we're doing is we create this collaborative community. So after they present, we go into brainstorm sessions around tables of 6 to 8 that are facilitated, guiding discussion through that challenge. What would you do? What connections do you believe that this nonprofit needs to make? What ideas do you have? And then through that, we build an action plan to help that nonprofit overcome that particular challenge over the next 90 to 180 days. And we ask the business community, who in this room wants to volunteer their time, give of their expertise and experience to help this nonprofit solve that challenge. And we typically see between 10 to 20 business leaders who then say, this is for me. This is something that I would like to do in helping this nonprofit. This is, yes, maybe something that the expertise I have in my day job, but this actually gives me a lot of value in being able to give back in this way. And I like to say that it really is a win-win-win, because it is business community saying, I'm finding purpose and significance by being able to give back, right? That feels so good to be able to give back when we know that we're making a difference. And then we're seeing that the nonprofits are overcoming these obstacles in ways that they never imagined. And then we're seeing the critical needs met in our community.
It feels like, as you're describing all that, the hardest sell would be to get the business leaders in the room, right? Because it truly is a question of what is in it for me. Business leaders have so much that they're dealing with. The economy is not, like awesome,
right.
And so they're probably thinking about their own needs. How do you convince 200 some people that have businesses that they need to take care of to be in a room where maybe there isn't as much, in it for them, so to speak?
So what happens is that people just need to come, and we're really referral based. So one business leader starts telling another, and that's how our room continues to fill up month after month when we host our AMP sessions. Because what the experience is like is everybody's coming in, hey, I have the posture to learn about what these nonprofits are doing in our community, learn about issues that I'm maybe not super aware of. Maybe it's people experiencing homelessness or food insecurity or veterans needs in our community or human trafficking. So really coming with the posture to learn and then the posture to give back. And there are not many communities where that's why you show up. And it's a really, really rich experience. We like to say we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy. And so getting our word out about the fact that we have this community of we're working together for the greater good and amplifying the work in our community, it's been really from word of mouth of people saying this is a great place to be. And I find a lot of joy in giving and serving in this way.
What types of businesses or business leaders are you pulling from? Are these, Fortune 500 companies? Are these mom and pops? Are these, in Minneapolis and St. Paul? Is this greater Minnesota?
Yeah.
I mean, who's all represented when you get in the room?
Yeah, we find business leaders from all of those companies, large companies in the Twin Cities, as well as CEOs and owners of their own companies. There are a lot of owners of small businesses who maybe have more of that flexibility to be able to give back of their time or offer some pro bono support to nonprofits. Like we have an owner of a digital marketing firm in town that was able to, give 1 year of pro bono digital marketing expertise to a nonprofit. Maybe there's not as much flexibility if you don't own your own company to do that. And so while we welcome business leaders from all different backgrounds, I tend to find that there are a lot that are solo entrepreneurs or that they're owners of small to mid-sized businesses.
And then what about your nonprofits? I mean, I'm guessing there's a line out the door of nonprofits that say, I need help in some way, shape, or form. If there's some benevolent group of people that want to help me, how do you go about selecting who gets to be heard or who gets to present in front of this group?
Right. I like to have a variety, because there's a variety of needs so people can hear about the particular needs so that we're not all talking about the same different needs in our community. So we do receive applications. There's an application process, and not all nonprofits are in a place and not all leaders are in a place to take ideas from 200 leaders and implement them. So we do also run a nonprofit leadership academy. And so sometimes when we can tell that nonprofit is maybe not in that place, even though they have a great need, they're maybe not in that place to take ideas and to implement them to move forward. Right, so that we are really looking at those nonprofits that are ready to, in enough sustainability that they can take those ideas and then they can truly implement them. If not, we guide them through our Nonprofit Leadership Academy for some of those foundational elements that they really need to work on within their organization so that they are ready to be on the stage, to take in with really just a humble spirit, of teachable spirit of these are, ideas that people have for me of, how I could be better.
What are the most common needs or requests that you find nonprofits are making?
Yeah. Well, our when nonprofits present at Amplify, we do have a rule that they can't ask for money, so they're not asking for fundraising.
That does feel like it would be the obvious one,
right? But so when you ask about needs,
Yeah.
I mean that is the biggest need, right?
Right.
Is funding. If you can't fund the work, you can't do the work. So that is the biggest need, which is why that's one of our most enrolled classes within our Nonprofit Leadership Academy, is foundations of fundraising.
Yeah.
And how do I do that well? So we do have some guided support of how to do that for nonprofit leaders. The other part is board development. So how do I build a strong board around me? And we know that the nonprofits that are the strongest are those that have a strong board and a diversified board, and not a board that's the best friend and the family member, but a board that is business leaders with strategic expertise, marketing expertise, finance, legal, a diverse set of skills that can truly help guide that nonprofit through to financial health and also sustainability. And so one way or one benefit of presenting at Amplify is there's a lot of people who fall in love with the nonprofits who present that they're like, I would really like to serve on the board. So it might be a nonprofit that has a board of 3 people when they're presenting at Amplify, and they leave with more people saying, I want to step into this, who end up then joining their board, which then leads to the sustainability of that organization. So that's a side part of it too, and another way for business leaders to continue to give back.
And there's a faith element to everything that you're doing, right?
Yes.
How does that make it different than if there wasn't?
Yes. So our founders really said, we want to make sure that we can amplify the work that Christ is doing in Minnesota and around the world. And let's find a place for those that their Christian faith is really important to them, that they can give back. It is one thing to go and pack meals and do that together, but what if it was really made a difference for you to be able to use your strategic expertise or your ideas or your digital marketing expertise or whatnot that really gave you so much more joy in giving back? So let's find ways that we can do that together. So it is a Christian. We are a Christian nonprofit. Amplify is a Christian nonprofit, and we do serve nonprofits that are faith-based or faith-inspired, meaning they have a Christian leader that's the reason why they've helped formed the nonprofit and the passion behind their work.
You kind of talked a little bit on this on background, but what are some of the successes that you've seen? Are there any specific examples that come to mind where you're like, this is why we do this work?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories to tell is Wildflower. It is a coffee house. Maybe you know of it. That's they have one in Minneapolis and they have one in St. Paul. When they presented at Amplify, they didn't have a coffee place yet. They just had the idea that what if I served youth experiencing homelessness and gave them a job and equipped them with job skills, that it could, change their life for how they could get jobs at maybe other, as a barista at other future coffee houses like a Starbucks or a Caribou. But let's see them, love on them, and then give them a place to work. And so they came to Amplify and presented, and they left Amplify with somebody saying, I have a facility for you in Minneapolis that we could help you seek to move into.
Like a physical building.
Yeah, physical place. So people who are coming around this nonprofit leader with this great idea, with this great passion, and we know a really solid motivation to make a huge difference in our area, but had the critical needs of, I need the space to do it, and I need the coffee beans as well. And there was somebody else in the room who had a connection with a place that could provide coffee beans. And those were 2 connections that were able to be made. And so that was able to just really propel this nonprofit forward. And that's an exciting example of some of the work that we do in a small way that really we couldn't have prepared for, because we didn't know that how God was going to use the people in the room, how God was going to nudge the people in the room to step forward and say, I want to help you and I want to support you as a nonprofit so you can do this work. One of the other examples that I like to share is Dignity Made, and it's an organization that serves families in the Philippines that are experiencing poverty. And when I first met the executive director, he sat across the table from me, and I said, "What is your greatest need?" And he said, "I just feel so alone. I feel so alone in this work." He said, "I have this job application stack, this huge stack of job applications." And he said, "Every time I look at it, I say, I want to be able to employ these people in my coconut facility in the Philippines.
Wow.
But in order to do that, in order to solve this poverty issue in the Philippines and employ these people, I need to sell more coconut products here in the United States." And he, the Dignity makes coconut oil, coconut chapstick, coconut products. And so he presented at Amplify. And what was just unlocked after that presentation was people coming around him and saying, "I can help you with your storytelling and your pitch so you can get into grocery stores here in Minnesota. I would love to help you with some customer research support," which typically that costs a lot of money, so giving of the time for that. "I would love to give you some digital ad spend that I could do with my business because I own a digital marketing firm. I would love to help you. I'm an EOS implementer, and I would love to help you implement EOS for strong organizational support for the next 2 years." So all of these people who said, "I believe in you, I believe in this mission, and I'm going to come alongside you." So as a nonprofit that wasn't super well resourced, just a couple of people all of a sudden had this community of people coming around them saying, "I believe in this work, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this together." So again, that executive director, he said to me, Amplify truly was the best thing that happened to me, because no longer did he feel alone, but he felt surrounded in this mission.
What's it like for you to see that happen in real time? Like I'm imagining a room where it's people raising their hands or coming together, but what is it like to experience that support in real time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing since I've stepped into this role is, wow, we have such a generous community. We have people who really, really care about others. We have people who really care about making a difference, and that they want to look outside themselves. And so that has been just such a joy for me to be around that all the time. And also, I think it's just watching how God works in ways that I couldn't make up. I couldn't imagine myself what's going to happen. But like that example of this woman who is an EOS implementer, which is an organizational and structure development for organizations. She came to our AMP session on a Tuesday night. On Sunday, she was in church listening to the Lord, and the Lord was telling her, "You need to give 2 years of your pro bono time away as an EOS implementer. I want you to pray about that." Little did she know that she was going to walk into the room on Tuesday night at an AMP session, hear from this nonprofit leader who was trying to self-implement EOS, and it wasn't going well. And God had already put in her this nudge to do this, to step out in this way. And then she was able to be presented with this person who had this need and then meet that need. And she flew to the Philippines on her own dime and is helping support this nonprofit leader.
How much of I'm just imagining this now, how much of a backlog of nonprofits do you have? I know you mentioned that you want some that are ready to, receive the help and not everyone might be, in a position to come and present and get the help. But how big of a need is there? How many people want this kind of help?
Yeah, well, we do have 40 nonprofit leaders right now in our AMP Academy, and then we have another program that is called AMP Up. So right now, because we host one AMP session a month, so we typically are, serving between 12 to 16 nonprofits a year in this big way that I talked about through the AMP journey and these presenting at the AMP sessions. We have a number of nonprofits that we serve through our one-on-one consulting program. If we don't have the availability for them to be able to present, that we can serve them. We're not turning people away. We can serve them in finding a business leader who might be able to do do one-on-one consulting or mentorship through our AMP program to help them meet their need. So we're not turning anyone away. We are growing quickly. We are typically receiving 2 to 5 applications a week from nonprofits. Wow. And in order to qualify for our programs, you do have to have a nonprofit that's based in Minnesota, and again, a Christian-based nonprofit.
What's your dream for the next few years? I mean, you've only been in this role for so long. What is your dream or your goal for what you can accomplish?
I really believe that nonprofit leaders feel alone in the work that they do. So I love our AMP Academy, and I want more people to know about our AMP Academy. Not only does it provide competency for some of the foundational skills that you need to have in running an organization, but it provides such a strong connection from nonprofit leaders. And so really that is our goal, is that we continue to build that we continue to level up in the needs that are happening and provide the classes that are needed for nonprofit leaders. So that is one goal that we have. I continue to hear from nonprofit leaders, please create a space where we can be together and learn together. So in this next year, we will have some additional classes within our AMP Academy and more spaces for people to show up. So if funding were not an issue for us, my big dream is that we continue to create more spaces for nonprofits to be able to present on a stage and share their strategic issue that they're facing, and more places for business leaders to come and then hear those opportunities and then step forward into possibilities of how they can help. How
has the last year changed your faith, just watching what you've been able to see?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest things for me is just personal, is in leading an organization, of just really asking the Lord, this is not mine. This is not my organization. I believe this is that God has entrusted me to this leadership. So it has really just been this posture of not wanting to control, right? I think that's just what you always want to do. But the posture of just like, this, God, this is yours. You've asked me to lead this. How do I do this in the way that you want me to do? So for me, I really felt convicted before my day one at Amplify that I was going to start my mornings just in prayer and asking the Lord, like, what do you want me to do today? How do you want me to guide and lead this organization? Who do you want me to surround myself with? But just really that posture of not holding tight to things, but just really asking the Lord to guide me through that. And I have seen just some amazing mentors be put into my life through that. Some people who've said, I just want to pour into you. I want to pour into Amplify, that I wasn't even asking for. And that has been just really, really sweet to me, of saying, thanks, Lord, like, you're answering those prayers in the ways that, like, I don't feel alone in leading. We have an amazing staff, for one, but we have an amazing community that comes around us in what we do.
And with that said, how's the last year changed your view of generosity? Because I'm listening to the ways that you're describing people going out of the way to donate their time, donate their work, donate their skills. It's also coming at a time where gas is getting more expensive, groceries are expensive. I think anyone who works a job can relate to the concept of being asked to do more work with fewer resources.
Right.
And everyone is struggling in their own way. But yet you're seeing this increase in generosity. How has that changed the way you see generosity, or changed the way you see generosity just even around Minnesota?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's taught me not to have a scarcity mindset. There's an abundance. There's abundance of time and resources and goodness to be given away. And so often when those things are happening within our economy, we can have that mindset to just, again, hold close to what I have, and not give away our time, not give away our resources. And instead, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm saying, people are saying, but that's what gives me joy. And I believe that I was put on this earth for my gifts to serve others. And that's biblical too. For 1 Peter 4:10 says, use your gifts to serve one another. And I am seeing people who are saying, I want to use my gifts to serve one another. Like, that's why I believe God created me with this skill set so I can give it away.
If someone hears this and they say, wow, this sounds really cool, I want to be a part of this in some way, shape, or form, whether they are, a business owner or a nonprofit leader or just a regular person. I mean, what is the avenue to get connected or to take that next step?
Yeah, I say visit our website, amplifymission.org, and there's an events tab, and we have all of our AMP sessions that are coming up in the future. And there will be different nonprofits that will present, and maybe some will resonate with you more than others, but just come. It's a free event, free AMP session. Just come. First, we serve a meal, whether if it's a lunch or it's a dinner, we serve a meal. We usually have a keynote speaker who speaks and does a little bit of an inspirational talk. Then we hear from the two nonprofit leaders, and then you get to be around a table of business leaders brainstorming and helping these nonprofits. So it's giving of 2.5 hours, seeing what we're like. It's a way to just dip your toe in. And then if you are really finding value in it, we love for people to come back or maybe say, I want to dive in deeper and I want to volunteer my time with one of those nonprofits that presented at Amplify.
At the same time, we're taping this April 30th. There is an event second week of May 13th. You wanted to talk about what's going on. I believe that's a Wednesday.
Yes. So Wednesday morning, May 13th, 8:30 to 10, we are hosting our fundraiser that's called Strengthen the Huddle. And it is really a one-of-a-kind event. So it's at the Vikings Museum, and we are having Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell do a live Q&A with Voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen, for about 40 minutes that morning, talking about faith, talking about leadership in a place that's not always easy within the NFL, talking about building a strong culture, and sharing, I think some Vikings trivia as well. After this NFL draft, he said he will. But really the focus is on him sharing about his faith, why his Christian faith is important to him, and how that grounds him in the work that he does every day.
And that kind of goes back to what you were even saying about sharing your story and just sharing kind of what makes you you. With that said, though, I mean, you are trying to get people there. I'm sure with the work that you're doing to support others, you still need support yourself.
Right, exactly. A lot of people think that Amplify is not a nonprofit because we serve and help nonprofits with their work that they're doing. But Amplify is a nonprofit, so we are funded by individual donations and corporate donations ourselves. And so this is an event that, yes, we have tickets that we're selling, so you can find that again on amplifymission.org. We would love for you to come. We'd love for you to not only benefit from hearing firsthand from Kevin O'Connell in a really, really special morning, but also to hear about the Amplify impact that we're making in our communities and just be a part of a really, really fun morning together.
It's super cool. I don't think I've heard of any other, state that has a program, like this. I would imagine you're venturing into new territory and kind of breaking new ground with the work that you're doing. If people took one thing away, though, from hearing from you, what would you want that to be?
I think that every time I sit across the table from a business leader and they say, thank you for opening the doors to possibilities for me to give back, it's made me better. I think so often we are just going about our days and we forget to look up. We forget to think, what else can I do? How else can I serve the person in front of me? And we at Amplify open the door to the possibility for business leaders to be able to do that. And every business leader I've met said, I am better for it.
We'll be sure to include links so people can find the things you're talking about. Thank you for taking the time out of what is a busy season as you're planning these couple of things, for just sharing a little bit about what you do. It's been awesome just to learn more.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a joy to be here. Appreciate it.
Thank you again so much for taking the time to listen to this week's episode of Bigger Than Belief. Again, your support means everything to us. And as we have launched this just about 5 months ago, it is awesome to see the way that this type of content is not only reaching people, but impacting people. In the conversations that we've been able to have over the course of the last 5 months have really been so enjoyable to me and our producer Heidi. So hopefully they've been something that you've enjoyed listening to as well. Again, if you do enjoy this type of content, please consider taking a second to rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening. And again, if you throw a positive review in there as well, that helps us way more than you might realize. We'll be back right again next Thursday with a brand new episode of Bigger Than Belief. We've got some really cool stuff coming down the pipe here over the course of the next few weeks, the next month or so. So be sure to tune in for that. But in the meantime, folks, be well. We will see you right here next Thursday.
Love podcasts? Love Minnesota?
Check out the WCCO podcast studio lineup.
Hear the top stories of the day with 4 things to know.
Discover top female athletes and teams from around the state on women in sports.
Dive into stories about faith and belief from your local leaders to your neighbors next door with Bigger Than Belief.
Stay in the know on the go with the WCCO podcast studio. Go to WCCO.com/podcasts.